Hi there! If you haven't already, be sure to check out my review of Dragon Ball Super Episode 64, Witness the Birth of a Supreme God. The last episode of Dragon Ball Super contained some really action-packed stuff, and this episode is no different. The previous episode of Dragon Ball Super ended with Goku Black and Zamasu fusing to become the quote-unquote Supreme God Zamasu. Just Zamasu, not Zamasu Black or anything like that, it's just Zamasu. And this episode opens up with Zamasu basically bragging about his power and how he's basically the mightiest of all the gods because, well, you know, he's immortal. He goes on to even say that this new power feels good and that it just keeps rising infinitely. While he's talking about this, there's a halo forming behind him, you know, similar to that of like a halo above an angel's head. Zamasu goes to attack Goku and Vegeta, but they block this ki blast that he fires, or at least they're trying to block it. During all this, Bulma ends up placing her garage back into her capsule, and she ends up going with Trunks and Mai to safety. Zamasu is attacking Goku and Vegeta with one of his newer attacks that's called the Blades of Judgment, which, no lie, that's a really badass name for an attack. It's a bunch of red ki blasts that fire, and they basically are like really sharp, almost like daggers. So he's firing these red daggers at Goku and Vegeta, and it's some pretty intense stuff. And I gotta say, the animation at the beginning of this episode is really nice. It's very, very good. I mean, it's not the best, but it's good. So all this shaking on the earth is causing these survivors down below underground to freak out, and a lot of them, especially Yajirobe, decide, okay, we need to get out of here. Then there's a scene where one of the survivors runs out, and he ends up getting evaporated. It's insane. And then they all stand back. They're like, okay, who's going to go up? And they're all deciding. And, you know, they're like, oh, I'll go up. And then finally Yajirobe says, yeah, I'll go up. And then they're like, okay, yeah, that's very nice of you, Yajirobe. You go ahead. He's like, oh, just me? Pretty funny stuff. So eventually Yajirobe gives the okay. And the entire group of survivors, well, most of them, end up going outside. And they end up spotting Zamasu. They end up wondering if he's a god, but one of the kids that Trunks saved from a few episodes ago, he ends up saying how no god would do this much damage. So basically a lot of the survivors here are losing faith, and they're pretty terrified of this new Zamasu. And who can blame them? Just seeing this guy and the kind of power he has, it's very frightening, honestly. It's like, during this whole episode, Zamasu doesn't even have to lift a finger. That just goes to show how godlike he is, because he doesn't need to lift a finger usually to do anything, and when he does, that's when he's pissed. But for the most part, he just sits back and lets everything happen. It's pretty badass. Zamasu's giving Goku and Vegeta a hard time because he's just so much stronger than them, but at the end of the day, they're not going to give up. Goku even brings up that this is a ki that seems like a god's, but Vegeta says he's never felt a ki like this before. That's how out of their league Zamasu is. Somewhere in the distance, Bulma pulls out her garage from the capsule and goes back to work on the time machine. Future Mai is about to go help, and then Future Trunks is about to go leave to go help Goku and Vegeta and try and take down Zamasu himself. And before he leaves, Future Mai hands him the sensu beans and basically tells him good luck. So Trunks takes the sensu beans and flies off in what feels to be a goodbye moment. Hopefully Trunks doesn't die, but if he does, that'd be a big shocker, no lie. Zamasu ends up bragging and talking about how his Zero Mortal plans is going to play out and that he's going to rebuild the Earth into a world for the gods, which is some pretty scary shit when you hear him talk about it. He ends up firing this other attack at Goku and Vegeta called the Absolute Lightning, which is also pretty cool. It seems to be like his main go-to attack in this episode because he uses it a lot. And they got hit so hard that they had to revert back to their base form. So you can tell that this attack pretty much fucked them up. Big time. So as the survivors are pretty much, running for their lives, Trunks ends up saving a little girl who was the sister of the little boy that he saved a few episodes ago. Trunks is like the Great Saiyaman, only he doesn't wear a dumb outfit and doesn't act corny. There you go, Trunks, you're a superhero. After he saves the little girl, he ends up flying back to go and try and fight Zamasu. Goku and Vegeta get right back up, and Zamasu points out how they're pretty much too stubborn to give up. And they both try to fly in and attack Zamasu, but Zamasu catches both their fists, and it literally looks like he breaks their hands and their arms. It is brutal. I mean, it's not too brutal, but you could tell from the look of the animation and how their arms kind of shake and jiggle. It looks like it hurts. Zamasu ends up sending Goku and Vegeta to the ground and fires more red ki daggers at them. And that's some pretty hefty stuff. You could tell that this takes a toll on them, even more so than before. So Trunks arrives on the battlefield and he sees that Vegeta's pretty hurt. And this triggers him to go into that new Super Saiyan form of his, which we still don't have a name for. Come on, Toei, give me something! And Trunks flies in to go and attack Zamasu. And this is interesting because Gowasu And Supreme Kai, aka Kaioshin, but like I said before, they're both Kaioshin, so I'll just make it easier on myself. They end up pointing out how much stronger Trunks is when compared to Vegeta and Goku. I don't know if this is like deliberate or not, but it just seems like their reactions to Trunks are more like shocked and like in awe than they were when Goku and Vegeta were fighting. Probably because they hadn't seen Trunks fight, but that's just my guess. So Zamasu and Trunks end up fighting. There's this really cool scene where Zamasu blocks Trunks' sword and ends up blasting him out of the sky. And then Zamasu's about to send down this hefty key ball until Trunks breaks out the Gallic gun. And, you know, there's a big key clash going on. And this is some cool stuff, you know. I love seeing key clashes in Dragon Ball, especially when they're handled well like this. And just when you think Trunks is about to get overpowered, Vegeta steps in and it becomes a father-son Gallic gun. This is a really cool moment. There's a lot of things in this episode that are really cool, and I think this may be one of the best things about the episode. So they end up overpowering Zamasu's Ki Blast, but obviously it doesn't do any damage on him. And he fires like another lightning attack, and he's aiming for Trunks. But Vegeta steps in front, and he takes a big blow to the point where part of his armor gets blown off. It's pretty intense stuff. He gets knocked out cold, and Trunks has to hold his pretty much almost his lifeless body in his arms. And then as Zamasu's about to go and attack Trunks, he notices that Goku warped behind him, or at least that's the implication that I'm getting from this, and that he's about to fire a Kamehameha. And, of course, this leads to another key clash, and it's pretty intense, I must say. You know, that's a word I'm going to use to describe this episode. Pretty intense. And the episode ends with that key clash. Overall, this episode was really good, I must say. It was a great way to show off this future Zamasu's power and how it's obvious, because they showed in the episode preview how they're going to have to fuse into Vegito to fight him off. Yes, it is confirmed. I told you, they're going to become Vegito, and I cannot wait. It has been a very long time since we've seen Vegito in the anime, and I am so happy to see him back. Welcome back, Vegito. Welcome back. I cannot wait for the next episode. The music in this episode by Sumitomo was really good too, I might add. The animation in the beginning part was good, but towards the end it started to, decrease in quality. But overall, it didn't bother me too much. It was okay, but you could tell just from watching the episode that the animation took a dip. But yeah, that was the episode, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was very, 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 very intense, because I had to use that word again. And I hope you get the chance to watch this episode, because it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. This is Gojira 2012, saying farewell for now.